An alchemist by the name of Akeem. You know what I mean? If you can already see here, the hydrate the hood, the beautify the block. If y'all were seeing some of the things that we had going on, this is the curator, of what we had going on, and brought it, from his hometown of Philly down here to another place that he calls home. And that's, what you do that, in your extended homes. We beautifying the block, we hydrate the hood while you tap into a source. So Akeem the alchemist, you kicking something for us, right?
Yeah.
All right, for sure. It's on you. You can, jump right into who you are. You can jump into your pieces, however you want to flow.
Okay. But just to give a little bit more background, family, my creativeness didn't really come to allow me to be me. I'm from Philadelphia, but I don't know if people really can grasp the idea when I say I'm actually from the hood, right? So I grew up basically in an alleyway. Like my queen, she's been to my hometown. It's rough. And just finding myself in a space where I can create kind of elevated my consciousness in a sense, right? So sharing my story took me a long time. Now I've been on the consciousness level like Don was talking about. I found out college, my doctor said we started eating bag of peas and different things like that. It's like I eat on me, you know what I mean? So trying to shift a little bit, man, but I definitely had to plant my seed in different soil, right? So my grandmother was my biggest inspiration. She passed away because of Alzheimer's. And about 4 years ago, when I went home, I found a picture of her garden, right? Never had any background experience in gardening. So that's basically how I got into growing food, right? So it started just from finding a picture, planting a seed into my mind, and then bringing that to Greensboro. So after I graduated from school, I became a gardener. Like basically, y'all, I'm putting my phone on a plant on YouTube by growing food. You know what I'm saying? But the city gave me an opportunity to do my thing, so that's how my whole growing aspect started. You know what I'm saying? But out of that came my brand as well. So the brand is called Strictly Your Mentality, and it started. You kind of see the brand, and it started from just planting my seed in different soil. I found myself not being able to grow and develop the way I wanted to in Philadelphia, right? Greensboro, the North Carolina area is kind of a wide aspect, right? So planting a seed in different soil is going to be very, very, I would say, elevating to not only yourself, but like being yourself too, because you go through different layers of man. So getting into the comedic sciences, finding out about the tree of life, going through the S.O.U.L man to the ad man, finding out about myself. It's just different levels of myself being a black man in the corporation of America world, finding love, finding my peace, finding my place. I had to strengthen my own mentality to change my reality, right? And somebody told me that what you connected to happens to you, right? So the Beautify the Block message actually came from me just remembering walking up the street and just seeing a bunch of trash, right? I grew up around trash, drug transactions, all of my role models was in the streets. They was telling me not to be in the streets, but they were in the streets, right? So kind of a double standard. So when I'm thinking of children, right, because I love children, when I'm thinking of how their minds develop, a child can't really develop, and it's a testament, and I give thanks to the Most High that I'm even here standing talking to you, right? Because I came from a place where seeds can't grow. When Tupac was talking about a rose grew from the concrete, I felt that literally, right? Because I literally had to grow out of a concrete struggle to get where I'm at today, and then create roots in a different environment, right? So we thinking about how a child minds work, right? From 0 to 7. If you don't cultivate the right aspects of the child, no matter where it goes in life, it's still going to be, I would say, chained, like the brother had, chained to its past life, right? We think of an elephant in the circus. When an elephant is a baby, it gets literally chained to a nail and it tries to fight, struggle to get away, and then literally it stops fighting. So when this elephant is a grown man, grown woman, thousands of pounds, it still won't even try to get away when it can go and get to this freedom, right? The strongest thing in the circus, right? So that's literally what they do. They put chains on our minds, they put chains on our bodies. So beautifying our blocks, beautifying our communities is us just taking back what we rightfully own, right? We don't need people to come and save us. We don't need people to come into our communities being hopes, you know, trying to be the face of reconstruction and different things of that nature. We can save ourselves, right? We can clean up our own communities, clean up our minds, and get into position to start changing our children, because they're going to be the next generation of people, right? Growing food, allowing them to tap into different resources, right? And then that led also to hydrate the hood, right? So hydrating the hood, if our bodies are 80% water, right? And then our brain cells are 85% water, and then water is literally the chemical key to life, right? And I think about myself in my childhood, I didn't even like drinking water. So, you know, we got sugar waters, we got the rap snacks, we got our diets are trash, right? But this is what our children are going through on a day-to-day basis. Talking about ADD, talking about ADHD. The real thing that's going on is a lack of nutrition. So this NDD, nutrition deficit disorder, right? Their brains are not being able to develop, right? Our children are not, they put these labels, they put us with this medicine, Ritalin. All our children need is just start to practice healthy habits and start to see new role models in our communities, right? So that's where the brand came from, and that's also where the 2 programs came from as well. So it's just a story of my life, like Don was talking about. It's just a story of my life just being recreated in an art form, right? Hydrating my own mind, beautifying my own blocks, strengthening my own mentality to change my own reality, and therefore I can change the minds of others, right? So just planting my seed somewhere different, right, to become more consistent in my dreams and aspects to create a different environment for my family. For sure.
Yeah. That's great.
Yes.
Are those for sale?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Okay, perfect. Yes. So getting into the merchandise too. So it's like I think Dom said something very important. He was talking about entrepreneurship. I know for me, for a long time, you know, well, ever since I was younger, I never saw myself working for anybody. You know, I never seen myself working at 9 to 5. Always thought I was going to, you know, they gave us the pipe dream, and go to NBA. You know, then I wanted to be a rapper. You know what I mean? Just I would say teeter-tottering back and forth, do different activities, right? But they give our children this dream of 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. You get 40 hours a week. That's like 40 years, and then you'll be able to retire, right? Why didn't they never teach us how to do for self? As I look in this room, all of us are basically doing that thing. We're doing for self. Well, we had to first work on self to be able to elevate to that level of consciousness, right? We had to plant our own seeds in the soil to be able to elevate and grow, right? Grow big and strong. Now, me being a gardener, that was only just a small fruition, because when I get children, even when I get adults that come into the garden, I start to transform the way they think. They see me just out and go, oh, you garden, that's nice. But there's so many other things and so many different depths that I can get into, so many different levels that I can cultivate, right? I'm not just cultivating soil, I'm cultivating the soil of your mind too. That's what the subconscious mind is. The subconscious mind is fertile ground. We have our conscious mind, is only 5% of our reality, but the subconscious mind is due for 95% of our reality, right? So if you transform that, you know, you can take your life to the next level. So this is it's just an honor to be in a position to transform not only my family's lives, but children's lives, people in the community, and being able to get, I would say, a level of awareness, not only consciousness, but being aware of our situation out to those who might just be, like the brother had, shackles on their minds. I know I was shackled for a long time. A lot of my brothers and sisters are still in the streets, you know, doing their thing till this day. You know what I mean? And it's kind of just great to see the growth and development, right? Not only of who I am, but of how I can transform my people's lives as well.
Did you have examples of those male figures, you know, in your life that were entrepreneurs? And I asked because you said I never pictured myself working for somebody.
Right.
And I sat here and went into my own mind, like, trying to think, like, did I ever picture for working for anybody? And even when I was working for somebody,
right,
I still never pictured myself working for them. You know what I mean? Like, I still never pictured myself working for them. And I never, I mean, I don't say this proudly, but I would have my home from my man, fuck this.
Right.
Never given a 2 weeks notice.
Right.
You know, but the like the male figures in my life, both my grandfathers ran their own business. You know what I mean? My father ran his own business. Our uncle, you know what I mean, ran several different types of business. He was very entrepreneurial. Like these were the closest male figures.
Right.
I mean, even the guy from my church ran his own business. You know what I mean? Everybody, even if it was circumstantial, you know what I mean? They had to. Everybody ran their own business. So those are even some of the examples, you know what I mean? But were there examples of that, or what was it that made you never even picture?
Right. So to be totally honest, my brother, I was dealing with so much trauma as a child that my level of thinking was just getting to the next day. That's literally for 19 to 20 years of my life, I just lived for that next day. You know, I was talking about that elephant, and even if you think about a fish that just swims around a same aquarium bowl, you put that fish into the ocean, it's still going to swim around those corridors. Basically, that's what my mind was. Even though I came to a whole different state, right? I had 4 different colleges around me, went to A&T, I was still on that same level of thinking, right? Because all my role models, like I said, was in the streets, right? They would tell me to stop snitching, but they would then go do something different, right? They would tell me not to sell no word, but then they would go do something different. The only thing that literally saved me, right, was my mother and my grandmother, right? My mother lost her first child, I would say at 8 weeks old. My oldest brother, he was 8 weeks old. So she literally came to me when I was 7 years old. She said, I know we don't have a lot, but she said 3 things. If you can respect your elders, respect women, and then just keep up with your schoolwork, we cool. So that's, if she didn't come with me to that and plant that seed early in my lifestyle, I wouldn't be standing here today. I would really be in the streets, brother. So not even, I haven't had the positive role models in my life that was males was still out doing their thing, right? So I would hear conversations because I was hip, you know what I'm saying? So even though you're telling me, oh yeah, young brother, you do this, they put me on the math early, I'm listening to Rakim at 8, you know what I mean? But, and then I see you got 5 different baby mothers. You know what I'm saying? They slander your name. So it's like, I can look up to you, but then I can't really trust the morals and values that you're giving to me. So my whole life, I had to literally teach my own self how to be a man. And that's tough. Even when you was talking about teaching yourself how to love, teaching myself how to love, it's a tough thing when I never seen my mother have somebody in her life that she truly loved. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have that perception because that's how we learn. We learn through mental perception. So if I don't see it, I can't literally become it.
Any other questions?
I have a few different questions. I'm trying to think of which one, a couple of them still on mine, but let me see. I did want to ask about, I guess it was kind of in that same vein of having those images to really, you know, align with and build on, you know. What was it that really shifted you down here? You said your mom and your grandmother played a major part as far as the role and influence and giving you, I guess you know how to be having certain people in this position of saying they don't have nothing to lose.
Right.
Like being that if you ain't have nothing else, you have your mom and your grandma to represent and make proud of you, you know.
Right.
What was it, or when was it that you found what you could hold on to and like, all right, this is my space, this is my lane?
That's a great question. I would say probably about 2 years ago. Yeah, probably about 2 years ago. See, me, I feel like, so I answer this in a different type of way. I feel like with all the sleep that we had, right, for all the time we was in our mother's womb, from all the time that we were unconscious, that we were conscious, right, we only basically get to live, we have to subtract about 9 to 10 years off of our lives. Right? And then really, so if I'm 28, I basically have to subtract 9 to 10 years off my life. So I'm really like an 18-year-old man right now. Right? So me growing and me becoming myself, it took a while. It took a long time for me to I would say, scale back those layers and find out who I wanted to be, right? So I would say about 2 years ago, because I was never comfortable with sharing my story, because I know nobody really, I mean, it's different art forms. That's why I got into the poetry and different things like that. But it takes a while for you to be able to open up and share different things and have that confidence to be, I would say, like Dom said, to be to even show emotion, right? Because as black men, we're taught to wear a mask, right? I'm 5 years old. You tell me not to cry, but I have a whole emotional body. So how are you telling an emotional being to cut off a section of himself? Right? So to relearn and to open up to those emotions is scary. Right? So I think it took me a long time, but even though my mother and my grandmother would tell me, I love you, I love you, I love you, I knew at the same time I had to be a man, so I couldn't really be, I would say, babied in a way, because my father wasn't right? So I had to kind of, like, Mom, I know that you love me, but you can't show me over love, because I don't want to be in a position where I have too much feminine energy and not a lot of masculine energy. But that was just my paradigm of thinking at that time. You know what I mean? And then when I finally realized I had to open up to the love and had to accept it, you know, opening up that heart chakra, like we was talking about going through that tree of life, from that solar plexus to that heart chakra, allowed me to finally share my story with the world, coming to my throat chakra, third eye, now I'm in my clairvoyant stage in my crown.
And then the other part of that question was, so when you're trying to deal with, all right, so you woke yourself up and you know, rose yourself up out of the slumber and everything. What's your advice to, you know, bringing your other companions, brothers, sisters, different people in the community to this newfound knowledge and way of thinking?
Don't my question, I'm asked that in a different kind of way.
You get any of the small ones?
Yeah, I just got. Yeah, I got a few in the car. Got a few in the car, for sure. I got it.
Well, my question
He
is,
is now.
Yeah.
He thirsty.
Okay. Yeah, you go in the back of it. If you want to go in the back of the white truck outside, you go grab it.
my question,
Oh, about this one.
yeah, right.
I'm gonna put some thirst right after this answer.
My question is, being from the streets. I'm from the streets. Been about that life. You know what I mean? I did 6 years in prison and coming out of prison. You know, what would you say to someone who, because at first, I'm not gonna lie, like when I think about going to beautify the block, I'm like, I'm not going to pick up your trash while you sit on the porch and look at me and tell me thank you for picking up my trash.
Right.
How do you inspire those in the hood to take responsibility for their hood in that way? And it made me think about, you know, so when I was in the streets, right? When I was in the streets heavy, the people that we listened to, you know, we didn't listen to everybody, but the people that we listened to were the people who were willing to go through whatever it took to meet us, sit down with us, have a conversation with us, and was very direct and almost authoritative and matter of fact. Like, I understand you're the big homie in the hood, but where your soldiers at to be out here cleaning up this trash? You know what I mean? You have a duty and a responsibility for that, because if you feel like you can be a part of gang culture, then you can be a part of gang culture. Initially started with helping the hood. So do you really understand what you're connecting and bonding yourself to? So how do you speak to those, the big homies, and inspire them to, or someone who's just coming out and just looking to connect themselves with something so they don't go back to the streets?
Yeah. So I think the culture that you was talking about, like the gang culture, from where I'm from up top to like Cali, I think Cali is kind of more of a connected type of culture. Now in Philadelphia, it's a little less different because it's from hood to hood, so they kind of street, you know, from block to block. But literally, I have to lead by example, right? Because I feel like a lot of times you can only tell a grown man but so much, because he gonna look at you. I'm a grown man, you a grown man, you know what I mean? I see you out here doing something great, brother, but I gotta go bust these traps. You know what I'm saying? Basically, so every time I go to Philadelphia, my street that I grew up on was so dirty that I had to break it down into 3 parts. That's how much trash it was. Like, I had to send you the pictures. I'm talking about loads and loads. I'm talking about people coming and dropping off couches, beds. Like, this is unimaginable, right? And people walking through this every day, grown men. So when I'm out there with my brothers from my high school, we doing our things and we talking to the brothers, they're like, "Oh yeah, man, we gonna come out and help you next time," but then we never see it. You know what I mean? But if you got other men coming into your community, keeping your community clean, that has to hit you on some type of level, right? If you got some type of soul and I'm literally coming back from 8 hours away, coming to do something in your neighborhood, and it's not even clicking on your consciousness, you know, I might have to just save my energy and not have this conversation with you, right? Because I'm just going to be beating on deaf ears, right? But just those type of conversations, I really think it starts in the youth, right? Yeah, so I target the youth to 18. I mean, when you're 18, they kind of out there too, but 16, 17, the young brothers. Now, I do have some young brothers that live in the neighborhood that come out and help me, because they do look up to me and they respect me. It's like, yo, you went out there, you doing your thing, you done graduated from college, got a degree, top in class, 3.8. They're like, yo, you doing some magnanimous stuff, and you came from an area that I came from. So that's inspiration, you know, in spirit, inspiranata. So I feel like I would have to start with the youth rather than going to the grown men. Because a lot of times that can start like confrontations too, depending on how the delivery is. Right? Because even when we was giving out water, a lot of people come like, "Oh, I don't really want no water." You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really drink water. You know what I'm saying? How you gonna drink water, brother? You want to live, right? But it's just amazing how after 35 plus years, people just get stuck in that mentality. They don't even know that they're that fish. So a lot of brothers, but the great thing is sometimes in prison, it literally makes brothers become disciplined, right? Because they're in an area of so much violence and in a cage, so they have to lock in on that spirituality. So a lot of brothers do come out and be spiritually elevated. Now, I do have a couple of teachers that came out of prison that have done 10 years, 28 years, and they do add and contribute to the mission. A lot of brothers in Greensboro. So to those brothers, I would love to connect with them. But basically, brothers that are still out on the streets doing their thing, it's kind of like they'll see me, I'll rap to them like, "Listen, I'm coming back such and such day, we'll be out here," but then they never show up. So just connecting with their sons, connecting with their daughters, I think would be powerful.
I think it's beautiful what you're doing. Keep up the great work. And I just think about energy. You know what I mean? When we think about alchemy, think about energy, the ability to be able to walk through someone's mind and open up a door. So people can be closed-minded, but with the right words and the right energy, you can open up that door.
Thank you, sister. Thank you.
Well, I was gonna say about back to your question, like sometimes people need their atmosphere shifted,
Right.
for them to even be inspired, and it can take a while. But if the trash has been there forever, that's the norm.
Right.
It might take a minute if they weren't out there while they're cleaning up for them to even realize like, oh damn, mattress gone.
Right.
You know, so like it might be hot, cracked, or whatever,
Right.
and it might take them like, oh shit, they cleaned it. It's clean. Like we like it like this.
Right.
And especially babies, like if they've never, you know, they might not even imagine playing in a clean street.
Right.
You know, so I think the work, it is frustrating because it's like, come on, now, grown people lock it up. Get your trash up. But if they've been suffering from whatever, you know, all the, describe it a little bit for us, all the ailments, you know, everything going on in that hood, it can take someone from the outside.
I totally agree with that. I just think of catchy ways, like everything, even like children. They like to be filthy, but they came up with the cleanup song. Clean up, everybody clean up. Like children know when they hear that, it's time to get up, it's time to start cleaning up. So I'm just thinking about like different ways, whether it's playing the sound when you go through there. It's like a sound healing. Just different ways of changing that energy. Is all I'm saying, and I'm not taking away from anything that you're doing.
Yeah, I think always do what you feel like you're called to do, and just do what you feel like you're called to do. If you feel like it's the cleanup and not necessarily, trying to talk to the hood cats, but talk to the hood cats.
I want to talk to the hood cat.
So I think it's a thing where it's like, you gonna talk to them, but we know we're not going to beat their business. Because, I'm running up. I don't care what you look like, whatever you want to draw, live, tattoo, whatever you want to be, feel a certain type of way about. We running up, you feel me? And I feel like
especially in Philly, man, there's a lot of body snatching out there right now. A lot of souls and lost. So you have to definitely be wise and pick your battles out there.
The Nation of Islam fought wars in the hood to be respected by the hood.
Right.
It wasn't respected until they actually went through the war. They literally cleaned up neighborhoods by fighting drug dealers and laying people down. It was real. It was written in blood. So now they could put on a bow tie and you can walk through any damn hood in America. And there's a level of respect. So unless you're willing to put in that type of work, you gotta be wise on how you do it. And if it's in my wife's spirit to talk to, the streets, which it is, and she came from the streets, being shot people, so it's a whole different understanding of the streets that she speaks from. And that's her. But if you want to clear,
I would never say disrespect, but I just think we're in this age now that people are searching for spirituality, and even now, with me in the work that I do, it's still people. I have people from the hood coming to get crystals. They're coming, they want to know what's going on. So I just think it's like different tools that we can use to kind of reach them more. So I'm never saying disrespect, because I'm not saying disrespect, but it's like, brother, if you don't understand that abundance and manifestation only comes in clean spaces, so you're out here really hustling, you're hustling backwards. You know what I mean? Because if your environment is dirty, you can't really get the abundance that you're seeking. You know what I mean? So it's like just different ways of communicating that and speaking with that.
Cleanliness is the
So I want to go to the next hydrate the hood.
But I feel like, all my life, I never been one to fake the fun and try to act like I was hard. I would always just stand on my square, you feel me? And I always been able to go any and everywhere. Now, mind you, I always move accordingly. I was in a certain space with a certain blessing. I wasn't just roaming randomly in certain places, but any and everywhere I went, it was always respect, because I felt like I got more respect than the biggest gangster, bully, gun toter, because I stood on my square and I ain't stand down for nothing. So even when we in Claremont the other day, it would be certain jokers that I know this nigga is not coming to help clean up, but I'm gonna run up anyway, and I'm gonna tell him what we doing today, and I'm gonna give him a water, and it was always love, I really respect what y'all doing out here, you feel me? And if it's nothing else, then just give them that energy. And if they keep feeling that and seeing that, if nothing else, even in our own hometown, it's certain homies that it's like that health stuff, y'all drinking smoothies and stuff, that joint kind of soft.
Doing yoga,
poetry and art, I ain't really with that, but I'm gonna send my kids to y'all. And I'm respect. I know y'all bringing something to the table. I ain't gonna give my kids, but I know I can give my kids to y'all and get them something that I'm just not gonna give them. And I can respect that.
That's love. Y'all changed the way I look at it.
I was joking about the other day. I'm gonna put it back to her, but I was actually on Instagram talking about that. Cognitive distance in the hood, but
what do you think?
the cognitive distance in the hood, the contradiction. I like the water, but I ain't gonna drink none. But I see a vision, man. I really respect what you're doing, not just what you're doing, but the image that it creates. Because I haven't been to Philly, but I've been to Baltimore.
Oh man.
And I've been to Detroit.
Yes, sir.
And Houston, you know, and then parts of, you know, boroughs in New York, right? And, you know, it's kind of like the same thing. You know what I'm saying? These are huge black cities that we live in, man. So how impactful do you think this image is going to bring, you know, for those other cities too that are facing the same conditions that we're facing right now? So I want to kind of throw that question to you because I'm trying to hold the place. And I want to do a beautify block in Baltimore.
Sure.
I want to do one in Detroit.
Sure.
And, you know, Greensboro, each part of it, like you're doing right now. I want to do it everywhere. So how do you think, you know, that can probably work out for you? How do you see that becoming a thing?
That's a great question. And just to add to King and the sisters' input too, with the energy aspect, that's why I started growing food. Right? So all the food that I grow in every urban community, I always give it out. I've never taken a bag of my food home to cook it for me because it was never for me. I literally got into gardening because they systematically put in urban community gardens in places where they call it food deserts. Right? But we know a desert is a natural structure, right? So it's not a food desert, it's food apartheid. Right? And all in these food apartheid places is food swamps too, man. We don't even think about that. McDonald's, Wendy's, Sonic, you know, so we not only deprived of fresh food, but then we swamped into these areas where our nutrition level is going to be really low.
ABC stores,
everything.
Pawn shops,
Exactly.
gun stores.
Exactly. Right into our inner city neighborhoods, right? So when I'm growing this food, I'm transforming the concept. I would literally have children in the neighborhood coming running out, their father, they're playing all types of music, they smoking, they drinking, children running down. I'm literally like, yo, y'all come in here and, you know, cussing, this, that, and the third, transforming their consciousness, and then I'm taking a bag of food to their pop, like, this is what you gonna do. So that's kind of how I'm making the connection with brothers, especially in Greensboro, because they ain't really nothing, you know what I mean? I'm gonna walk through all parts of Greensboro, you know what I'm saying? We don't got no fear in Greensboro, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like up top and all that, you gotta be a little careful, you know what I'm saying? But in Greensboro, so the food was kind of, the food is kind of my way, and now we have the water too, so the food and water is kind of the way, like, listen, this is what we're doing, this is the mission, you know what I mean? 95% of all fruits and vegetables are water. 80% of your body's water. This has 108 minerals in it, brothers and sisters. Y'all indulge in it, so that was kind of the bonding factor. But Dom, to your question, man, I see this. When I did the first one, right? Because I had to drop off like 35 gallons in Baltimore, bro, and I'm literally riding through the street. I never seen so many boarded up homes in my life. In my life. You talking about the wire?
After the riot and all that?
Brother, I'm talking about just on one street, 20 to 30 houses boarded up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm at home and I'm driving through the street. I'm like, man, we got to do something right here. Because Beautify the Block is not only coming and cleaning the community, but I even saw the aspect of after we clean the community, maintain it, we'll come back and build a garden box. Now we can start growing food in the community too, right?
Yeah.
So not only beautifying it, but now we can start eating different. And then when I come back, then we can start having classes, teaching the soil, having children come in, maintain the garden, you know, because there's certain type of block generals and different things like that. So the brothers that I grew up with that still live in apartments and the projects that I grew up in, they kind of the ones like, yo, my brother come and clean up the street, don't throw the trash. So that's how, you know what I mean?
I see the plan, I see the
So just planting those small seeds inside of their minds. But to your question, man, I would love to do it in places like Detroit. Because when people see us coming in and cleaning, you know, ain't no disrespect or nothing. It's like, yo, these brothers in here, these brothers and sisters doing something positive. You know what I mean? Let me help. Let me ask them what they doing. You know what I mean? You got some type of way that I can contribute. Yeah, brother, you come out and help. So I would think Detroit, DC, Atlanta, you know, I would love to go to these different places. But it's navigated now with all this so-called virus, man. We're gonna have to figure something out. But yeah, I definitely see the vision, brother.
Yeah.
Start growing our own fresh food in our communities, having a fresh water supply in our own communities, start teaching classes in our own communities. I think to the testament, man, it'll be powerful. Especially, I know I keep going back to the children, but it's on the children.
That's right.
We gotta reach the babies. Not only for their parents might be gone, right? But the children are the innovators. This is the first generation where they're growing up in technology. My little cousin is 9, one of the smartest young brothers I ever met in my life. Because he on tablet, he on cell phone, he got 5, he just, you know what I mean? So what if I can change his mind and attune his frequency, right? Because I do another program called the Art of Chess Boxing, so even teaching him chess at such a young age, right? And then bringing that into eating fresh foods, drinking fresh water, even exercising, you know what I mean? Just throwing those little tidbits in, because I know if I would have had a role model in my life, a black brother that I was seeing, that's growing food, that's coming back, that's cleaning up, that's teaching me how to play chess, I can only imagine where my mind would be in, right? Because our minds are literally locked into boxes. But if we can open that child's mind, just like the brother had with the reading rainbow, the possibilities would be endless.
That's shade.
Endless.
Wow, this was another beautiful class. Everybody that had the beautiful opportunity to catch this live, you know, y'all got a chance to, just get you a full course. You know what I mean? This evening, for real. Go back and dissect it. You know,
This is enough of it.
oh yeah, they definitely gonna have to double back, you know what I'm saying, and preheat it, you know what I'm saying, like, get active, you know what I'm saying, new sport, new spoon, new night, new life, whatever the case may be. But y'all appreciate you for tapping in, you know what I'm saying, my brother, where can these, where can everybody find you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram now. So I went from the Alchemist, now on Instagram, I'm Akeem the Mechanic. So I changed my name on Instagram. We'll get into that a little bit later. Akeem White on Facebook, and then Radio Rakeem on Twitter. So that's at Akeem Akeem the Mechanic on Instagram. Also follow the page at Strengthening Your Mentality.
Yeah. Appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate y'all. Thanks.
And the teacher.
How much is water?
Oh, that's for you, brother.
She told me.
It's cool. I appreciate it.